we've already talked about communication, but you need to communicate the why and the how. You need to communicate why this is happening. Okay. You need to tell your spouse, you need to help them understand. Hey, sweet mama. Welcome back to another episode of Mom in Process. Happy Monday. I'm so excited to talk to you about today's topic because it's actually something that I just experienced from I guess the shoe was on the opposite foot, you could say, the other day for Brad and I. And so I really want to share this story with you and hope that it resonates and hope that we can kind of go into our weeks with a fresh perspective, maybe some intentionality behind some of our actions around this topic, and just the opportunity to do some self-reflective work if you're in a position where you are struggling with this, which you have no idea what I'm talking about because I haven't alluded to the topic of the conversation yet. But this conversation, this topic is really designed to speak to the full-time moms, the moms that are home all the time, even moms on maternity leave, even if this is a temporary life for you in this moment, but really for the moms that are home all the time. So I'm going to start this conversation with a story from Brad's perspective, which was just hilarious for me, but so relatable. So we have gymnastics for the girls on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we come home pretty late from those practices. They're 2-hour practices. So we do get home pretty late and we try and rotate on and off. One person takes them on a Tuesday and then the other person takes them on a Thursday. Sometimes we go together as a family, but we try and kind of balance that between Brad and I, and also managing Lily at home so she doesn't have to sit there the whole time. So I took the girls to practice that night. We got home late and I was sitting down at the table. So mind you, Brad had been home with Lily for several hours at that point. And we sit down at the table to eat a late dinner. And he immediately goes into this story, this big story. He couldn't wait to tell me. It's like I walked through the door, sat down to eat, and he like pounced, right? He like had to tell me this story. And he starts talking about this story, something to do with his toe. Okay. Mind you, I'm eating like this gloopy, messy taco salad that I had put together with all the fixings and everything. And he wants to tell me about his toe. And I was trying to kind of be patient with him a little bit, but let me put a little bit of background information on his feet situation right now. He's running a marathon. And so he has blisters, he has calluses. Yesterday he ran 18 miles. He's training for a full marathon, 26.3 or whatever miles it is. And so I was trying to be really patient as he started talking about this story. And he had brought it up more than once. And the kids had kind of interrupted or whatever, because when we walk through the door, it just is like chaos. They're excited to see Dad, and Brad's excited to see me, and he wants to talk to me. And so he mentioned this toe thing a couple of times. And then it was quiet at that moment because the kids were eating. And so he was like, oh, here's my opportunity to talk to Amy about my toe. And he starts talking to me about it it's a huge blister that he had on his toe. And he was talking about how he had popped it because it went under his toenail and up and like around his toe. And he's like, I have to show you this. It's like oozing. And I was like, okay, listen, hold the phone for just a second. I am trying to eat my food, my dinner. And I know that I'm a mom and that I have a thick stomach or a tough stomach. I've seen all of it. I have done all of it. But right now, I just want to eat my food. I just want to eat my food. And I started kind of laughing because I told him, I said, I understand how you're feeling right now. And I really want to have this conversation with you. And I want to listen to your story because it doesn't gross me out, but I really wanted to eat my taco salad without seeing and hearing about his disgusting toe blister. And I said, but I need you to understand something right now. Cause I was giggling. I was like, this is exactly this moment right now. What you're feeling is exactly what I feel almost every single day where I can't wait for you to get home because I have a dozen stories that I want to share with you, or a dozen things that I've gotten taken care of today, or I need taken care of, or whatever. And I used to call this verbal vomit, but it's a little off-putting. So then I was trying to like come up with other names for this. And I was like, oh, daily dump. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that's even more off-putting. Daily dump. It just is not. It's just off-putting. So now I call it the daily dish. And it's this moment that we have when we can't wait for an adult, another adult human, to walk through the door so we can talk to them, so we can share with them, so we can connect with them. And so I was laughing a little bit with Brad because I was like, I just need you to understand what I'm going through right now is how you feel when you walk through the door and I dump at my entire day on you. And he just paused and he was like, you're right. This is not a good moment. I have no idea why I was trying to share my toe story with you while you're trying to enjoy your meal. He was like, I'm sorry, let's talk about this in a little bit. And I was very intentional about going back to that moment once the kids, I don't remember now at this point if the kids were in bed or if it was just when I was done eating, but I was very intentional about bringing it up again and then listening and, and just being present for that, even if it was gross. But the reason why, let's get to the root of this is one, he was surprised at the situation because he's never had anything like that happen before, but also this is part of his journey in running his marathon. Okay. This is just part of it. This is a moment. This is an experience that he's had in part of this training. It's really much bigger than just a blister on his toe that he was trying to pop, right? This is much bigger. And so I needed to recognize that and I needed to be open to that, but the time and place wasn't during my meal. And he knew that and I knew that and we talked about it and it was fine. So this happens though for us as full-time moms on a daily basis when they're gone. And this is something that I really struggled with. And Brad and I have had very intentional conversations around, multiple conversations around, because he would come home, especially when the kids were little, especially when they were babies and they're not talking to you. You're just with this creature, with this thing, and it doesn't communicate. And especially when I was home with just Gracie, just her and I, and she was so little. And I really struggled. I would be like that mom waiting at the window, peeking out, like, is he here yet? Is he here yet? Is he here yet? And I'm not kidding you guys. I would call him if he was like 5 minutes late, or if he didn't call me as soon as he left the shop. Are you coming yet? Is everything okay? Why aren't you here yet? I'm not kidding. And it is almost embarrassing for me and shameful for me to say out loud, but I've overcome that. So my shame is now like, my shame is gone, but it is still sensitive and really hard for me to reflect on that person that was like scratching at the windows, couldn't wait for him to come home. But I'm not trying to shame that by any means because we've all been there, right? And it's not healthy for our marriage. Or for us, it's not healthy for our relationships. So what I want to talk about today, aside from this humorous story, is how do we actually overcome this? Okay. What did I do and what tips do I have for you to work through this and overcome this obstacle that is a challenge for you at this moment, in this moment of time? And I think that this is also a very sensitive topic and very relatable for people in light of the pandemic. I think we all got very isolated. And so, kind of reintegrating back into the quote real world and having conversations with people again and stuff, it ends up feeling almost competitive, like I want to share and you want to share and I want to share and you want to share. And then we're all just sharing. And it's like almost this competitive conversation because everybody is so eager to chat and everybody is so eager to share. And so, but I want to talk specifically for the stay-at-home moms or the moms on maternity leave. They're dealing with this and struggling with this. And maybe it's something that you don't even realize that you do. But if you don't realize that you do it, I could almost guarantee that it is something that your spouse recognizes and sees. And I do want us to be very intentional about it and just maybe reflect on it and say, I wonder if this is an area that I could work on to help improve my relationship or to help improve myself. And so I want to talk about this from two perspectives. And the first perspective is your perspective. Okay. So the reason why you're doing this, and one of the reasons is genuine excitement. Okay. You're excited for them to come home. You're anxious to see an adult and you want to inform. You want to share what happened during the day. You want to share the milestones that your baby has gone through. You want to share the trials and tribulations of your day, your triumphs, right? The things that you were great at. And you think that they're really big. From their perspective, sometimes they don't really see that. And I know some spouses don't see those milestones or those triumphs that you've had. Maybe breastfeeding went really, really well for you that day, and they genuinely don't understand that. They don't understand the importance and the significance of that. You're just saying, I did this today and it was great. Or, Sally Sue had her first steps today. I mean, that's a really big one, but you're just starting to share some of these things and you're excited for the day, you're eager for the day. But the other side of that too, the reality of that is a lot of times when we're overly anxiously sharing and we're sort of dumping right off the bat, it shows that you are possibly lonely as well. And your only interaction that day, especially when you have a nursing baby and you have a newborn at home, a lot of times that only interaction that you have is with your spouse. And that becomes very heavy for them. So let's talk about their perspective. Are they anxious and happy to see you happy? Absolutely. But it also makes them feel overwhelmed. It makes them feel frustrated because yes, they want to see you, but they also really want that time with their baby or their children. And there has to be that balance. And we can talk about that more in a little bit as well. But they're anxious. You possibly could be making them feel anxious. And then if this continues without the communication of how these encounters make you feel and make them feel, it could turn into this resentful moment. And there were definitely times that Brad has shared with me when we've talked about this, that it's not that he dreaded coming home, but he had to like psych himself up to come home to prepare for me. And that's not what I wanted. And that's not what I wanted to give him when he came home. I wanted to give him this beautiful experience when he came home. I wanted him to be able to enjoy me, enjoy the kids, enjoy the house. And instead, he was feeling very burdened and very heavy because he would come home and I would just be like, blah, 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 all just, like I said, verbal vomit. I just give him the daily dish, all of it, all at once, just like this big, huge cloud that was hanging over my head and all these things that were happening, just like, here you go, boom, dumped it right on you. And it's so heavy for them. They're also dealing with their daily challenges, their trials and their tribulations, their triumphs for their day out of the house. The difference a lot of the times is that, yeah, they have some coworkers that they get to talk to, or they have other people, other adults where they just at least get to communicate with them and share thoughts and opinions and feelings, even if it doesn't have anything to do with the day. There were times I would just have these big thoughts that happen, right? Because we're just stuck kind of in our own minds sometimes. And you have these big aha moments where you're like, oh, I just realized something. I really want to share this with somebody, and there's nobody around to talk to about it. And so those kind of monumental shifts, that personal development and that growth, that has to be pushed down and bottled up, and we just compile all of that into one big conversation full of me and my opinions and my thoughts and my goals, and then you add all of the kids in with it too, and it's just like this, like I said, this one big heavy cloud, and you just dump it right on them. And so it started to really wear on him, and it started to, I mean, I could see it, I could sense it without him saying the word resentful. I know that it started to make him a little bit resentful, where, yeah, he was excited to come home, but he was also a little bit, kind of anxious to come home, and not like in the anxious, like, I can't wait to get home kind of way, in the, all right, like, what's Amy going to share with me today? What's going to be happening? How is the household going to be? Am I going to walk into crazy town? And I will give, I will give him the utmost respect in this conversation, because I feel like he is one of the most patient men that I've ever known in my entire life. And I know not all men process these types of situations as well as Brad does. And so that's why I want to have this conversation, because Brad actually handled this very, very beautifully, very patiently. And we started to kind of have some conversations around it. But I know that other men don't handle it this well. They might get angry. They might, talk to you about this in a different kind of a way, with less patience and less understanding. And so I really want you to be open-minded to this conversation and maybe work on some of these things. So with that being said, let's go into, what do we do about it, right? So you heard my story. We've heard each perspective, her side and his side. And now what do we do about it? How do we help get through these moments? As Mother's Day approaches, I wanted to be sure to take a minute and let you know that I've put together a couple of very beautiful, very empowering products specifically for my stay-at-home mom listeners, because I have tried to find specifically labeled stay-at-home mom merchandise, because I want to feel empowered. I want to feel excited about my role as a mom. Everything else that I've seen out there, which is also beautiful products, but it's catered towards moms in general. And I wanted something specific for my role, for my full-time mom role. So I put together a couple of beautiful products that I'm so excited to share with you. There is a link in the show notes below. You can also head on over to my website or the Instagram page for links to those products as well. Don't be shy. Send this to your spouse, send this to the people that you love, and say, this is what I really want for Mother's Day. These are the things that really mean a lot to me, that empower me, inspire me, and make me feel good about the role that I'm in, not just as a mom, but also as a stay-at-home mom, as a full-time mother. So head on over to Instagram or my website. Check the link in the show notes below. And with that being said, let's get back to this conversation and improve on this coming home time, this transitional time from you being at home with the kids to you and your husband being home with the kids, especially in the evenings after everybody's tired. So I have 4 tips here, 4 things that I want to talk about. And the first one is building a community. And I know that this seems super obvious. We talk about it all the time, but I feel like it's incredibly important for you to have a community, a group of mom friends, a group of women. And I got to a point where I didn't think that was ever going to happen for me, because I had tried and I had tried and I had tried, and it just wasn't happening. And then finally it all clicked, and finally it all came together. And I know that there are so many women out there that don't have these mom friends and that don't have this community. And maybe you're fine, maybe you're okay, but chances are good we need to work on that. Chances are good we need to continue to try and cultivate that, because it is so important. You can take these situations, these conversations, these thoughts and opinions, and talk to your mom friends about it. We meet once a week, and it's all different types of moms. It's not any kind of organized group. It's not any kind of membership based community. It's just moms that met at the library, and we just want to get together because we're all fairly introverted, and some more than others. And we don't get out of the house a whole lot, especially if we're homeschooling. So the importance of community and mom friends is high. That's why I put that in that number one slot, because I think for me, I know that was a really big shift. And if you can't meet in person with people, there are ways to meet virtually. There are virtual meetups and support systems and things like that. What I did before I had local mom friends in this local community is I would send video messages on and off throughout the day to one of my other really good stay-at-home mom friends because she lived somewhere else. She lived several hours away from me. And so we would video chat throughout the day. And that really helped me with my loneliness. It really helped me process some bigger conversations and some bigger thoughts that I was having. And then it was things that I was excited to share with Brad. It wasn't always the negative stuff, which is what I was feeling was happening in the early stages of me being a stay-at-home mom. It was a lot of negative conversations. Like, this is what was bad today. This is what I struggled with today. Gracie struggled with this today. I don't know how to do this. All of that negative conversation is what really happened. So then it shifted because I had these video messages and I could chat with one of my friends, and it shifted to, I had this thought today, or what do you think about this idea? But I was still dumping that, right? Because I was still missing that in-person interaction where I could really connect with another human soul, another in-person conversation. So community and other mom friends once a week, even if you can get together, is so important for that. Okay. The second one, and this has to do with you and your spouse, is a daily check-in. These help Brad and I immensely. So he knows, okay, this is how her day is gone, or at least up to this point. This is something that she's struggling with. This is something we need to talk about. She had this really positive thing happen, whatever, however you want to talk about it, whatever you want to talk about. Just a daily check-in. We usually try and do it once a day, whether that's on his lunch break or between his lunch break and when he comes home. We just talk about our days. How's it going for you? And then I know, oh man, he had a really tough day at work today. So what he's going to need is to just see the kids, have a simple dinner, and we're going to try and, get the kids into bed on time or early tonight. And we're going to just rest and let him let go of the day, or maybe he needs space to go work out in the evening because he hasn't had a chance to do it in that morning, or whatever. We talk about our must-dos. We've said, I've told you that we read, we drink our water, we do our workouts. We have all of these things that we try and get done during the day for ourselves. And so I can say, listen, I haven't got this done, or this done. And he says, okay, well, I got this, and this done, or vice versa, right? We just check in with each other. How are you doing? What's going on? Is everything okay? Just a daily check-in to regroup and communicate about what's going on. And that has really helped us so that we know when he walks through the door, I know what to expect a little bit more, and he knows what to expect a little bit more. And then I am not as likely to just dump my entire day on him because I've had a chance to chat with him about it that day. So daily check-ins really help us. Number 3 is I let the kids, and this has taken me so long to work on, you guys, so long. And it's still something that I have to check myself before I wreck myself on. And it's letting the kids see him first. He is, especially where the kids are a little bit older. If you have a baby, I totally understand, but just give him a moment to even just give you a kiss, hello, and then go see that baby. But for me, with the kids being a little bit older, I let the kids see him first, because if not, we're all fighting for his attention. And then I get, actually, total transparency, I get resentful of the kids if I'm trying to talk to him, but then they're in between us and, trying to hug daddy and daddy up and all these things. And I'm just like, go away. It's my turn with him, but that's not fair. That's not fair, because I get the rest of the evening with him. I do. I genuinely do. And so I have to be very intentional with it. But I let the kids see him first. So I will make eye contact with him. I will say hi. And then the kids bombard him and they tackle him. And he loves that time. He loves that time. And he is so good, because we've talked about it. And we've talked about the importance of this, is he says hi to the kids. And then he comes and he says hi to me. And if that's not happening for you, then just communicate that, talk about it, say, please say hi to the kids, but then don't forget about me, come give me a kiss, come give me a hug, just recognize me, see me, hold me for a minute, something. And we've had to talk about that. That doesn't always come naturally for a lot of relationships. These are things that you can improve on, communicate about, and work on. So, and that's what Brad and I have had to do. I think the majority of relationships are that way at one point or another. Maybe if everything is going great for a while, then that's wonderful. But sometimes we have setbacks. Again, we're all only human, and Brad and I are only human, and we've had those setbacks and those moments as well. Okay, so moving on from I let the kids see him first. That really helps us a lot. That helps the kids, that helps him, that helps me, helps all of it. It gives me a pause and doesn't give me the opportunity to, like I said, just dump my daily dish on him right off the bat. It helps me take a breath, let the kids see him, and then figure out really what is something important that I need to talk to him about. And usually it's like, can you help me set the table? Because we haven't done it yet. Just something simple like that. And then we just transition into the rest of our evening. Okay. So number 4, this is so important. And I know that we've already touched on this. This is the last one. And I feel like it's so important. I struggle. Do I put it at the end or do I put it at the beginning? But it's to communicate the why and the how. Okay. We've already talked about communication, but you need to communicate the why and the how. You need to communicate why this is happening. Okay. You need to tell your spouse, you need to help them understand this is why I feel like I have to dump all of this on you. So, everything that I'm talking about here, I mean, heck, if you want to just share this podcast with him and just say, listen to what Amy's saying because she's expressing everything that's going on right now for me, then please, by all means, do that. If you're having a hard time articulating it, because it's taken me years, Brad and I, years of communication to articulate this scenario right here to get to the bottom and the root cause of it to then move forward. So you have to give them the background. This is why this is happening. This is why I'm doing these things. This is why I can't wait for you to come home. This is why I pick up the phone and I call you if you're 5 minutes late. So you need to communicate the why behind it shamelessly. Okay. There's no shame here. You just need to say, this is why I'm feeling this way. This is why this is happening. This is why I can't wait for you to come home. Just explain the why. And then from there, now you explain and you have a conversation around the how, and the why. Let's go back to the why really quick. The why could be because this is a two-way conversation between you and your spouse. He could also share why he feels unhappy right when he comes home, or why this is hard for him to handle, why this is hard for him to see you in this way. Okay. And it's probably going to be some of the things that I've already explained, which is it makes me feel anxious. It makes me feel frustrated. I'm starting to resent coming home. It feels like a burden, all of these things. And it doesn't have to be, negative. It doesn't have to be this is what you're doing. And this is how I'm reacting in this sort of pointing fingers sort of way. It just needs to be an open conversation. So if he understands your why, then you can understand his why. And then you can actually figure out the how. How do we work past this? How do we fix this or continuously adjust and overcome this obstacle that we have right now? And how do we improve that? How do we move forward? And again, it goes back to the other previous 3 steps that we talked about, which is building mom friends, building a community, and then the daily check-in. Maybe you guys have some of your own ideas. Maybe you have some things that would work better for your values, for your lifestyle. And if you have ideas, please send those to me. If you have already gone through this and you've worked on it and you have things that you've done and made adjustments in your life, to improve on this type of scenario, that transition when your spouse comes home, please send them to me. I would love to hear them and share them in our Facebook community, because I just feel like the more information, the more knowledge we have, the better. And this is just coming from my perspective and also talking with other women as well, but mostly the things that we have done within our household. So if you have other suggestions and tips or things that have worked for you, please let me know so I can share those with another mama. And that just could help somebody. You never know who that could be helping. So working through those three things, the community, the daily check-ins, and then letting the kids see him first. And then lastly, communicate the why and the how, and then that constant communication. Step 4 isn't just a one-time thing, right? Step 4, communicating the why and the how, isn't just going to happen one time and then everything's going to be all hunky-dory and fine. This has to happen quite often, honestly. Maybe it'll work for you the one time. I highly doubt it. This is something, if you are really struggling with, this is something that you're going to have to continuously work on and try. And then, it may get better as the kids get older. Say you have another baby and then you're, back to being home more because you're nursing. You may have to reopen that communication, reopen that dialogue again, but it really helps everybody to be on the same page. We don't know how to improve if we don't know what's going on, if we don't know what problems are happening. So Brad and I talk about this, on and off, and we have for 8 years now. And I still have moments where I'm like, "You're 5 minutes late. What's going on?" And he's like, I had to meet with a customer. I'm sorry." I'm like, "Right. Okay, Amy, check yourself. You're fine. It's okay." And those are the moments, typically those are the moments that I haven't gotten out of the house enough. I haven't seen enough other people outside of my home. So I haven't had a chance to be with my other mom friends. I haven't had a chance to be with my community that I'm a part of, so those are moments that I have to check myself and say, "Okay, what's going on with you right now to make you be and respond in this way?" So those are my 4 tips based off of this humorous, also kind of gross story of Brad's toe and his blister while he's training for his marathon. So let me know if you have any other tips or any other suggestions for all the mamas out there, because like I said, I love to share this. I love to share other perspectives and other tips with all of the moms, because it maybe what I say, maybe all of my tips aren't totally in line with what works for your family. So send me a message. You can send me a message on Instagram, or you can hop onto our private Facebook community and post your suggestions in there as well. So with that being said, thank you so much for listening today, sweet mamas. I look forward to talking to you all again very soon.